I am making dumplings today, and I have this attachment. I'm gonna grind up about 1.5 pounds of pork after I chop it. This is a great attachment for the Cuisinart. I really like it. I grind up all my hamburger meat and everything myself. The first thing I do is cut this pork into smaller pieces before I put it in the grinder. This way it grinds up faster. All cut up and ready to go through the grinder. I am setting the dial on my Cuisinart to number 5, turn it on, and then feed my pork into the grinder. I am using a 1.5 pound boneless pork Boston butt roast for this dish. You can also use the meat of your choice. Here it is, nicely ground up. I covered the meat with saran wrap and put it in the refrigerator until I got ready to mix the spices, the salt, and the pepper into this meat. Make the filling, add 1 egg, grate a little bit Parmesan cheese into this. Okay, add a little Parmesan cheese. Now add 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 tablespoon, let's put 2 tablespoons of chives in here, 2 tablespoons of parsley, 1 teaspoon of marjoram, and a teaspoon of black pepper, and a teaspoon of salt. Mix this up. After we mix it up real good, we're gonna put it into our little circles and make the dumplings. This was in the refrigerator, it's a little bit cold. Could have taken it out a little sooner. Mix it real well. So you get the flavor of all the different herbs and the salt into all of them. For the dough, I use 1 tablespoon of extra virgin oil, 3 cups of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 4 eggs, and I inserted a baking blade for this. Let's pop in our eggs. Put on the top. Beat up the eggs a little bit. Add the flour. Pulse it. Your spatula and turn this a little bit. Add 1/2 cup of water. With your spatula, once in a while you probably have to stop and loosen it on the bottom so you can mix in better. Then put the top back on and mix it more. Make sure everything is well incorporated. Instead of a food processor, you could also use your regular mixing machine with the dough hooks. I made a little bit too much dough today, so if you don't have too many people, just cut the recipe in half. To mix the dough well is very important. Turn your dough out onto your flour cutting board. Keep on kneading it until it's really everything's nicely mixed. You could also do this in your regular mixer with the dough hooks. This way you don't have to do all this by hand. Okay, once it forms a nice dough, I put a little flour around it. So it doesn't stick, and I will put it into saran wrap. There's some saran wrap. Wrap it in. A little good from all sides. And leave this sitting for about a half an hour or so. There we go. Now that your dough has rested a little bit, bring it to your floured cutting board here. Knead it a little bit. What we're gonna do is cut it into several pieces. Put this on the side. This way we can roll it out. This noodle machine is really great. This rolling attachment for the noodle machine goes from a 0 to a 9, and you start at a 0, roll your dough a couple times through there, move it up to 1 and roll it through, and then 2, then 3, then 4. I made my dough all the way to 5. You can make it thinner or thicker, however you want it. There's all kinds of different attachments that you can buy for this noodle maker. And this one here has a motor on the side. And it also comes with a hand crank in case you would prefer taking a hand crank to it. But of course it's faster like that. Then they have different attachments for spaghettis and all kinds of other attachments that you can get to this. Or you could also use a rolling pin and take some dough and roll that out with a rolling pin as thin as you like. Of course, depends on what are you making. That's how thick or thin you would want it. Make yourself some nice round circles. Put flour on them. Okay, this way they don't stick. Just put it in flour and put it over here. In the meantime, put on your water put a little salt in it and a sprinkle of olive oil. I always do this, cook it, noodles or anything that has a dough. This way it doesn't stick together. Take your little circles, fill them with some of the meat. Using 2 teaspoons is kind of better than using your hand. It doesn't stick to your fingers. Okay, now fold it over. Then use your fork and make impressions. And there you go, there's another little dumpling ready for the next one. Now do this to all your other little circles. And if by any chance you have meat left when you're done, just make little patties and fry them like little hamburger patties in the skillet. They're pretty scrumptious. Now your water is boiling really, really well. Take your little dumplings and drop into the boiling water as many as you can fit into the pot. They should be done between 8 minutes and 10 minutes. They surely will be done when they're all floating on top of the water. You probably have to do this 2 or 3 times, depending on the size of your pot. This stainless steel pot is a Dutch oven, and it's a good size, and it holds a lot of those dumplings, so I only have to do it 2 times. There, you see they're all swimming on the top, so they're ready, and I'm getting ready to take them out. I will have another batch that I have to do, and you do the same thing until all your little dumplings are done. Once done, I put some of them in my Philips air fryer. My husband loves them that way. Take a peek on how they look when they come out of the Philips air fryer. I'm making me a cheese sauce with these dumplings today. You can use any sauce that you would like. Put a stick of butter here. Let that melt down some. Okay. Let's put a little bit of this flour in here again. Wait till the flour is nicely melted into here. Don't let it burn. Let's add us a cup of milk. I have some shredded Parmesan cheese here. There we have some ricotta cheese. Take a few of those spoonfuls, put them in. If it gets too thick, slowly add a little more milk. Turn the heat down to about half so we don't burn this stuff here. There's just a little more milk. So that probably was about 2 cups of milk already. Okay. I like to add 3 slices of the American cheese. Add about a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of pepper. Cook this for a little bit. Taste to see if it's salty enough. Could use a little more salt. With 1 teaspoon of salt here. Ready to taste again to see if it's good. Yep, that's good sauce. Let all the cheese and the butter melt into this until it's nicely incorporated. I always like to give it a little more color, so I take a handful of parsley. Then you can turn it off. It will be done. Okay, this here is ready. This is how your pork dumplings look, with a little bit of cheese sauce sprinkled over it. You could serve them with a green salad, and these here are my husband's favorite. Enjoy! Bon appetit!